Chris Mannix. He's a senior writer covering the NBA for Sports Illustrated, joining us on the program. NBA shut down a year ago on this day. What do you remember about that?
I remember being relieved for a minute because I had been scheduled to do back-to-back Celtics games for local TV there. I just finished writing a story. I was exhausted. And I remember thinking, like, great, this will be like a week, a couple of days off. I can get back into the flow after kind of a mini vacation. Didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, when it first happened, and I remember Paulie texted me, he said, turn on ESPN, and I turned on ESPN, and it wasn't like 11 o'clock at night to watch SportsCenter. It was 8 o'clock, and you're going, wait a minute, what's going on ESPN? Oh, they got a basketball game. No, they're supposed to have a basketball game, and then all of a sudden it was basically Oklahoma City, drive home safely, and then you realized, okay, what's this mean? And who would have thought, that Sacramento later on, they had to tell that, it's like, hey, there's contact tracing with these officials. And, I mean, it's pretty incredible what happened, what happened quickly with the NBA, and then everybody else sort of followed suit.
Yeah, it was, when you look back on it now, it was remarkable. I think it was the Hawks game that turned out to be Vince Carter's last game of his career there. And I remember kind of wondering, like, what are you guys doing? Why even finishing this game? I mean, like, the whole referee thing you were talking about, you just wonder why everybody didn't just stop short right there and end it. But I think that goes to show that back then, nobody believed that this was going to have the kind of impact on the season that it had. I remember talking to coaches, executives in the days that followed. All of them had said, look, it's probably going to be about a week for this thing to settle down. Then we'll come back in empty arenas. There was an acceptance that they'd be back in limited to no capacity at arenas, but no comprehension that this could wind up shutting the league down until they could go into a bubble.
And remember, LeBron said that he's not playing if there's no fans in the stands.
Yeah. And that was, I was in LA for that. And somebody asked that. He was kind of walked into that a little bit where, yeah, he didn't know about all the things that were going on in that moment when the NBA said that. He's, of course he responds, I'm not playing without fans. I play for the fans. Well, that obviously changed very quickly as the reality of the situation kind of set in.
You look back on the bubble, and we didn't know it was going to work. And, you had some players who were adversely affected by it. But I still maintain what LeBron and the Lakers pulled off is as memorable and as difficult as any team has gone through, with no home court advantage there, a sterile environment. Have we given the Lakers enough credit for what they pulled off in winning that championship?
I think we have. I'm kind of a tough person to talk to about the challenges of the bubble, Dan, because sitting in a hotel room eating buffalo wings is not all that abnormal for my day-to-day life. So it really is. Like, I kind of say that. I mean, I sympathize with people that have families and are away from them. That's just not me. And so if you tell me that I can get wings 24 hours a day, and there's a never-ending supply of candy in the mess hall, I don't really do all that. But you could see it. I mean, when you're in that bubble, and I was in it for 2+ months, you can see the mental wear and tear it takes on players in real time. From the first week where everybody's kind of like, all right, we can do this. We can hang by the pool. No big deal. To the second month when you see these guys walking to the dining hall, just trudging, heads down, not a lot of conversation amongst each other, sitting down, getting through a meal, and then going back to their room. It obviously had an enormous mental toll taken on these guys. So I don't know where you rank it among the most difficult things the NBA team has done to win a championship, but it's up there to be able to go 3+ months and win a title.
Chris Mannix, the Sports Illustrated senior NBA writer, joining us. I saw an article, a column, and it had to do with ESPN speaking to several prominent figures around the NBA, and that there was a radical proposal that maybe you could limit the number of threes you attempt in a game. Let's say it was first half, you got to attempt 20, second half, 20, And then after that, everything counts as 2 until the final 6 minutes of the game. Are we getting to the point, is it too much of a good thing that what the three-pointer means to the NBA right now?
We're not getting to that point. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. And this is what the NBA wanted 20 plus years ago when the ratings were starting to dip. The physicality of the game was causing too many low scoring games. You remember that time, Dan, David Stern and NBA brass. I mean, they wanted what we're seeing right now, a free flowing game, a lot of 3-point shots. Maybe they didn't want it at the level that we're seeing where teams are just reflexively shooting 35, 40 3-pointers per game, sometimes more. But this is the trade-off. This is what you get. The idea that they're going to limit 3-pointers in a game is just, it's as likely as them ultimately instituting the 4-point shot, which was kind of a running joke, 10 or 15 years ago. You're going to have to deal with the fallout because this has helped grow the game. I mean, think about the most popular players in the game, the most emulated players in the game. It begins with Steph Curry and it goes down to all these 3-point shooters that have helped make the game as popular as it is today. It just is what it is, Dan. You're not going to be able to change what the NBA has become.
But is there a really good team who doesn't rely on the three-pointer as much as everybody else does?
I mean, there are teams that do it at a supersized level. I don't have the numbers in front of me on which team ranks towards the bottom, but every team is going to jack them up at a high level, especially in the fourth quarter. I mean, look, Dan, coaches in the NBA, every coach, this is what they teach. The best shots are layups, dunks, and 3-pointers. The way that Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant played the game, every coach would try to dissuade them of that nowadays. They don't want mid-range jumpers. They don't want turnaround post shots because they have been deemed inefficient. Layups, free throws, threes. That is all every coach wants from their team. You might see some numbers dip here or there from one team to another, but by and large, that's the philosophy.
Well, I got Utah as the number 1 3-point shooting team in the NBA. The Sixers are the lowest. The Lakers are in the bottom 5 as well. Now, I don't know if that changes when we get to the postseason or later in the season, but, do you have to be jacking them up? And are you all in on Utah being a team to beat or, one of the teams to beat?
I don't think you have to be jacking them up to be a championship team, especially when you're talking about the Lakers and Sixers, who are both, at least can be elite defensive teams with the personnel that they have. So if you can be great on that end, you're fine. I am buying the Jazz as a serious threat to win a championship because I was going through this over the All-Star break. There's really nothing the Jazz do that you look at and say that's not sustainable. You've got Mitchell playing at a high level, which is a natural progression of his game. Mike Conley was not great last year, but this is the Mike Conley, Dan, that we've seen for most of his career. The guy that we saw playing so well in Memphis. Gobert, to me, is a sneaky MVP candidate. I mean, he has become such a presence offensively with his screen setting that he's a real impact player on that end of the floor without shooting the three. They've been an elite defensive team during Quinn Snyder's time there. Certainly, when you get into the playoffs, I want to see if Mitchell can make plays, if Conley can make plays, end of game situations. But right now, the only question you have is can Jordan Clarkson continue to be the 6th man of the year type of player, or does he revert to being an inconsistent gunner? Other than that, I'm pretty sold on what the Jazz are.
Yeah, but I can't give Rudy Gobert MVP credit if he sets nice screens, Chris.
Of course you can.
No, I can't.
Why?
Can you imagine that where you're going, what did he do so well? Man, can he
Now you're twisting words here. It's not he's just this great screen setter. He's also the most intimidating defensive presence the league has seen since Mutombo. So that's a big factor in all this. But offensively, you ask those Jazz players, and I've done this, what's Gobert's influence? And he just sets some bone-crushing screens that frees up these guys as an impact.
Okay,
all right. He's never going to be a three-point shooter, Dan. That's obvious.
Yeah.
But if he can be a massive screen setter, that'll impact the offense.
The Lakers can't win a title without AD. Can the Nets win a title without KD?
No, neither. I don't think the Lakers, frankly, can win a title without Dennis Schroeder, for that matter. But that's a conversation for another time. And he's been that impactful for them. Look, the Nets are going to test the theory if that you need to be a top 10-ish defensive team to win a championship. They're not going to be that type of team, no matter how many guys they sign off the street in the next couple of weeks. But because they're so dynamic offensively at full strength, because they've got three guys, which is almost unprecedented, three guys that can take over a game in the fourth quarter, they can get away with being a middle of the pack or worse defensive team. But without Durant, without him being completely healthy, there's too many good teams in the Eastern Conference, I think, that can knock them off.
Great to talk to you again, Chris. I hope you're well.
I thought you'd appreciate screen setting. Like, kind of a grinder in your day.
I know, but it's nice. I mean, I didn't set screens. I was a shooter. So
right. But you went around them, right? So you knew the value of a screen.
Yeah, but, it wasn't, one of those things where I said, gosh, that guy, he's more valuable than I am. It didn't matter if they were setting screens or not for me. I mean, they couldn't guard me.
Okay. Next time you have Reggie Miller on, ask him that question.
He didn't need screens. He just ran all day.
Well, you don't just run without getting a screen set for you. That's crazy. The reason you're running is you're kind of trying to rub guys off screens. And Reggie had, by the way, two of the better ones in the Davis twins, Antonio and Dale, who just set rocking screens out there.
They weren't twins.
I know. They were called that, though. I know they weren't twins. I just think you hate the French.
I don't hate the French. I love Tony Parker.
Just him?
Yes. Just Rudy and the Goberts. I love Rudy. God, I'm going to tune into the next Jazz game just to watch him set screens. God,
I'm telling you, must see TV.
I know. Thank you, Chris.
You got it, Dan.
Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated, senior basketball writer, and a man who loves a good screen.